Hey, this is Rob, founder of Koyfin. I wanted to show you how Canadian financial advisors are using Koyfin for their research and portfolio analysis and some of the functionality that we offer. On a high level, Koyfin combines data with insights. And particularly it's for financial advisors who manage client accounts and off-the-shelf model portfolios, financial advisors who have custom portfolios with existing client holdings, and for financial advisors who need to track and research stocks, ETFs, and mutual funds, as well as macroeconomic data. In terms of how Koyfin stacks up versus the competition, we find that advisors are typically replacing Morningstar, Y-Charts, FactSet, Icon, or Bloomberg with the data and functionality that Koyfin provides. A key reason why advisors choose Koyfin is the modern and intuitive user interface. Our platform is super simple to get around and find what you need. We also cover a wide range of assets, including stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, indices, government bonds, crypto, and macro data. We cover model portfolios, a key element in how financial advisors structure and manage their client assets. We also provide the ability to graph and visualize almost any data point because we all like looking at charts. And lastly, on our pricing, Koyfin is super attractive. We have a robust free version and our paid plans are significantly below the competitors. As a background on the company, Koyfin was started in 2016 by me after having spent 15 years on Wall Street. I thought that there was a better tool to research stocks and create portfolios than what was available at the time. We're backed by leading venture capitalist firms like Craft Ventures and Social Leverage. We currently have 26 employees in 5 countries, and we're the only major research platform that offers a comprehensive free plan. That's why we have over 30,000 financial advisors that are using Koyfin today. In terms of what's included in a Koyfin subscription, we have a wide range of data and functionality that'll really help you manage your portfolios and really dig into securities like ETFs, stocks, and mutual funds. Our Pro plan costs $79 per month or about 100 Canadian dollars per month. You could sign up for free on our website, www.koyfin.com, and anyone who signs up automatically receives a 7-day trial to our Pro subscription for free. After the 7 days, you'll be automatically shifted to our free plan and you can continue to use the free product. All this without a credit card required, so you're free to check out the platform and see if it meets your needs. Let me do a quick demo to show you the power and analytics of our platform. Koyfin is a web-based platform, so you just go to our website and start using the platform on the web in your browser. This is the homepage of Koyfin with a bunch of data in terms of how the markets are performing. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of key workflows that I'll be doing and demonstrating. Number 1, model portfolios and how to create a model portfolio. Number 2, how to research ETFs, mutual funds, and stocks, and then show you some other functionality related to screening. So let me get started. Right here on the left-hand side is all our kind of functionality laid out. Let me start with my model portfolios. So this is where I have a bunch of model portfolios created, and I could see all the different metrics for them, performance and different risk metrics, which I can choose from here for my model portfolio dashboard. Let me select my 80/20 model portfolio that I created. And so now I'm in my 80/20 portfolio. And just to give you a sense of how I did that or how I created this portfolio, if I go to edit portfolio, this is my creation dialog. Basically, we allow you to create a portfolio with different holdings and then allocate the weight based on your allocation. And so what I have here is I actually have 2 allocation periods, so you can have multiple allocation periods. So starting in 2011, when this portfolio started, I had kind of 60% allocation to equities and then a 40% allocation to bonds. And then in December of 30th, 2016, let's say in my investment committee and my investment process, we started tilting more towards equities and away from bonds because bonds started looking expensive. So starting in December 30th, 2016, my allocation is 40% to equities and 20% to bonds. And then I could have as many different allocation periods as I want. So if you have new allocation periods every month or every quarter, every year, you can have that reflected here. That's a little bit different than the rebalance period. So on the left-hand side is kind of like some of my portfolio settings, the name of my portfolio, the initial value, the currency, which is the Canadian dollar. I can pick a benchmark here. And right now my benchmark is a mutual fund with a 60-40 allocation, but you can either pick an ETF a mutual fund, or you can actually create your own benchmark. So you can use another model portfolio as a benchmark. So for example, if you wanted to use a 60-40 portfolio with 10% cash, or you wanted to create some other benchmark, you can do that and select it here. I'm just going to leave this benchmark, which is the SCI 60-40 portfolio. My start date is the first common when all these securities were trading. I'm rebalancing quarterly. I'm assuming a 1% advisor fee from my portfolio, and the collection period is that quarterly. So now that I have all these settings, I run my portfolio, and I already ran it, so I'm just going to hit cancel. This is the analytics of the portfolio. So this is my summary tab in terms of some performance indicators, the dividend yield of my portfolio versus the benchmark, the management expense ratio of my portfolio versus the benchmark. I have my holdings chart here, my holdings table of my current weight and my target weight. I'm creating this portfolio right at the end of the quarter, so that's why my current weight and my target weight are very similar, but these are going to be drift depending on how often you rebalance your portfolio, and then the dividend yield and expense ratio of some of these variables. And then I have my style box here, my equity style box, which tells me that I'm overweight large cap, and my fixed income style box, which tells me I'm sort of medium duration, long-term duration and medium credit in terms of my fixed income allocation. We also have some more detailed exposure exhibits. So for example, my asset allocation, I could see that I'm overweight equities, I'm underweight fixed income. And so this is the blue is my portfolio, the gray is my benchmark. And I could click into one of these cells and see what's contributing to that weight. So for fixed income, if I have a 23.2% weighting, I know that the PIMCO fund is contributing 13.5%, and the TD fund is contributing 9.7%. We have a similar kind of analysis for equity sectors. So for equity sectors, let me just sort this by overweight, underweight. I could see that I'm overweight energy. That's my biggest overweight, and then followed by financials. And my biggest underweights are about staples, industrials, and real estate. Because I'm overweight these sectors, they show up on the top here, and underweight shows up on the bottom because I have it sorted by this. You could also sort by kind of my biggest exposure. So my biggest exposure is financials at 23.9%, and that's about a 5.1% overweight versus the benchmark that I've chosen. I can do that by industry as well in terms of getting a little more granular. I could do that for different regions and see where I'm overweight in which region. Where I'm overweight in which country, and breaking this out by equity and fixed income. I could also see my fixed income sector allocation. So I could see here that I'm most overweight the securitized sector, and that's coming from the PIMCO monthly income fund, whereas I'm most underweight cash and cash equivalents. And so you could see kind of how you stack up versus the benchmark on fixed income sectors on credit quality here. So I'm overweight AA and I'm underweight AAA, and hence when we looked at that Morningstar style box, I was a little bit more in the medium category because I'm slightly I don't have as much AAA exposure as the benchmark. And then in terms of my maturity, you could sort of maybe sort this by name and could see here that overweight some of the longer duration securities here. We also have the performance chart, so you could see the performance of the portfolio over time, or you could see the rolling returns over time of the portfolio versus the benchmark. We also have the historical returns. So these are the historical returns for the portfolio versus the benchmark, as well as all the monthly returns going back and the annual returns to kind of see what happened during different periods. We also have a risk section where you could see all the different risk metrics for the portfolio, so get very quantitative in terms of what the portfolio, how the portfolio acts by itself and versus the benchmark, the top drawdowns, the stress test, and then the drawdown chart as well. For Canadian securities, we don't have the holdings matrix yet. We're going to be getting Canadian holdings or Canadian ETF and mutual fund holdings. Today we only have that for US ETFs and mutual funds, and we'll be extending that to Canadian funds at some point as well. One thing I did want to mention is that we'll be rolling out a new feature called reporting, which you'll be able to create a report based on a portfolio or comparing one portfolio versus another portfolio. And that's right here. This is still in beta, so you probably won't see this on your screen. We hope to roll this out at the end of June. And so in here, you'll be able to kind of create your report and compare two portfolios or a client portfolio versus a benchmark, and then be able to kind of generate this PDF report and really walk the client through all the different characteristics and all the different dimensions of why you're recommending one portfolio versus a second portfolio, or you can build this for just one portfolio without comparing it to something else. So watch out for this functionality. It's coming pretty soon. That's the model portfolio functionality. The next thing I wanted to kind of show you is more of the ETF functionality. So if you wanted to analyze an ETF or a mutual fund, that would be down here in the security analysis. So I actually have a mutual fund selected here. It's the SEI Balanced 60/40 fund. So you could see kind of some information on the performance, on the key data, the fees, the portfolio characteristics, the description of what this fund does, all the related securities here as well. The holdings, again, we don't have for Canadian funds, which we want to get in the future. And then here in the graph, this is kind of something that we're really good at is visualizing data and visualizing financial information. So you could really customize this graph with a lot of different indicators that are technical indicators or different characteristic indicators. So for example, I have my historical chart here. I could add my total return instead and look at it from a total return perspective. Then I can add things such as like drawdown. So if I wanted to look at drawdown from peak and I wanted to look at, for example, beta, or if I wanted to look at volatility, it's really easy for me to graph these things and be able to see them over time for this mutual fund. The other thing that you can do is you can compare different mutual funds. So if I wanted to compare the total return of this mutual fund versus XIU, I could do that as well and do that pretty quickly. The other thing that you can do is compare the fund versus an economic data point. So for example, if I wanted to compare it versus the Canadian 10-year bond yield, I can do that pretty easily. And I have the total return here. Let me just change that. And so this is my Canadian bond yield. This is my mutual fund performance. And so these are now in the same graph. I can also split them up on the graph. So for example, I can use my controls here in the legend to move the series around. So if I wanted to kind of make this a separate series, I could do that. And if I wanted to compare something like CA-CPI, which is the Canadian CPI, we have all various economic indicators from around the world and all the comprehensive indicators for Canada. You could pull that up and now be able to see that the CPI listed here, again, it's total return because it copies the first series, but let me just put in the historical price graph. And so now this is the CPI going back. If I wanted to look at it over the past 20 years, I could see kind of like how CPI, the 10-year, and this portfolio are related. The other thing that you can do here is you can take this graph and you could pretty easily share it. So if I wanted to share this with a colleague or I want to share it with a client, I could generate the image and the image would be here. And I can copy this image and paste it in an email. What I can also do is attach my logo. So if you wanted to hit customize, upload image, and then let's say I worked at RBC, I would have this logo. This logo would be up here and I could add a title here. So it'd be SEI fund versus 10-year and CPI is the chart. And then again, you would copy this and paste it into an email pretty easily and be done with it. The other thing I wanted to show you on the graphs is on the performance graph. If this is a special type of graph we have called performance, what it does is it just shows the performance starting at 0 and whatever the index performance was over time. So this is a total return series. So if I wanted to compare this versus XIU, I could also have different model portfolios in here. So if I wanted to put in my Canadian 80/20 portfolio, the one that we saw before, I could put that in here and see how it compares versus different ETF or mutual funds. Or I could add another model portfolio. So for example, if I wanted to compare it versus my 60, that's the Canadian, let's say it's my balanced global portfolio, I could do that here and compare all these portfolios and again, be able to share this chart really easily with whoever I want to share it with. We have really comprehensive and really deep equity and stock data. So we cover all global stocks. We cover financials and estimates and analyst ratings and transcripts. And we source the data from Capital IQ, which is a really comprehensive and professional source. So just to show you what that looks like, if I was looking at a company like Shopify or whatever else kind of other company you're looking at, I could put that in my security analysis and then have a bunch of this information for the company overview, what the description of the company is, the different stocks that the company has or the different listings, the percentile rank of where kind of each of these metrics trade versus the 20-year history and versus the broader universe to get a nice bird's eye view of where something, all these metrics are trading today versus its history and versus comps. Looking at the dividend yield, which Shopify doesn't have, ownership of which funds own the stock, which ETFs, which mutual funds, the earnings history over time, is it beating or meeting estimates, all the different financials. Actuals and consensus are on an adjusted basis. So these are pro forma numbers, and we have the full history and the projections as well. The price target for the stock. So this is the analyst consensus average price target versus where it's trading now, and then being able to see kind of like what that difference has been over time. That's pretty interesting. And then being able to see some of the key estimates overview and estimate trends for the stock as well. We have all the financials, the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, etc. So you can pull that up and really dig into the financials. We also have the news, so news for the stock, the press releases, all the filings, and the transcripts as well, which you can look through and be able to search as well. So if I'm looking at the Shopify transcript, I could hit here, search transcripts, actually go here in the menu and transcript search. And here I can, for example, look for what Shopify has said about inflation. I could also clear Shopify and see what every company is saying about inflation, or I could see kind of like what the companies in my watch list. So this is a filter to be able to filter the results. And then I would just kind of click on each one of these companies and be able to see where inflation has been mentioned historically. And then on the historical graph, just the ability to really visualize any of the fundamentals for Shopify, which you can add here as a series. I have some of these series saved as templates. So for example, I have kind of like a short interest template where I can look at the short interest. I have my revenue growth, my valuations, and looking at the valuations over time, my margins, my free cash flow and yield, my leverage. So just a lot of ways that you can slice and dice and visualize this financial information. And the last thing I wanted to show you are these watch lists, which are really interesting and really powerful, where you can have a group of stocks that you're watching, either a portfolio or stocks that are you're monitoring. Have this group of stocks. You could have whatever columns here you want, which is totally flexible. So I have my standard view here, my valuation view, and so you can customize these different columns and configurations however you want. And then interestingly, you could share this watch list with a team member. So you could share this with a team member and then edit and work on the same watch list, so that there's really close collaboration with your team and you're monitoring the same things, and you're all kind of looking at the same document. So that's kind of what I wanted to mention on the demo. Again, you can go to our website. You could sign up for free. Our plans are kind of like our pro plan, which most advisors are on, is $79 US dollars per month when you buy the annual package. If you wanted to have a team with 5 or more people and have some central billing, feel free to reach out to us directly. You could email me, rob@koyfin.com, or you could contact us through this link down here again, I'm in plans and billing, and down here in contact sales, and that would go to our team, and one of us will respond as well. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this demo. We hope to get you as a customer soon.